promettait c'était des balades en corvette. Pour l'instant en survette, ils volaient des mobilettes. Mais entre eux c'était toujours complicité. Escale sur un piédestal, un rêve délimité. S'il devenait triangle, elle serait rectangle. La belle et le bad boy, le triangle rectangle. C'est comme passer de Jodassin à Jodeci. Un vrai truc de ouf, style pur, clip de R&B. Elle vit le grand amour qui commence dans la cour, se poursuit dans les tours et rime toujours avec toujours. Mais le contexte est plus fort que le concept. Son mec se jette dans des flammes et il se lave avec.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
La belle et le bad boy.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
La belle et le bad boy.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
La belle et le bad boy.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble. Pour gagner des sous ensemble, parle sans faire semblant de faire des coups ensemble. Et si c'est sanglant, ils plaident devant Dieu ensemble. Vu, il était convaincant, elle était convaincue à croire qu'aujourd'hui s'arrêter était exclu. Il trafique des faux billets avec des réseaux slaves, balance la concurrence. En France, c'est un délit grave, risqué pour les pommettes. Les mecs sortent des baumettes, une a qu'un truc en tête, c'est la quête de sa corvette. Ambiance paranoïaque, l'équipe adverse traîne, des projectiles partent quand une BM freine. Quand elle tombe, il a les larmes aux yeux. 2 balles de 22 ans adieu. Le contexte est plus fort que le concept. Son mec s'est jeté dans des flammes, faut qu'il se lave avec.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
La belle et le bad boy.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
La belle et le bad boy.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
La belle et le bad boy.
Les sous-ensembles, dans les grands ensembles, ça semble.
Okay, hello. Welcome to another Sunday Live. I promise I won't take much of your time. As you know, it's always maximum 45 minutes, these sessions, because I know you have got a lot to do on Sundays, not at least preparing for the new week. Let me just check all the platforms to make sure on private mode. Let's see. Just to make sure that we are streaming across the multiple platforms. Yeah, according to the data, that's the case. So yeah, let's get started. Let me pull. So just for those who are new to this, let's see, I've disappeared, I know. Yeah, I should show up now. Yeah, so today we are reviewing this paper. It showed up on my feed quite a lot this past week. So the idea around these paper reviews is basically, as you know, social media, in particular LinkedIn, is full of posts, and very often interesting papers get buried in all the noise. So what we want is to select interesting papers that we think the community might benefit from reading. So this paper, Hilbert Operators for Progressive Encoding, short-named HOPE. I actually like the acronym HOPE. In these turbulent times, we need hope. So Yeah, it's a very nice name. So to read this paper, you definitely need some background in functional analysis. Um, this requires you to have a good understanding of Hilbert spaces and operators, in particular, familiarity with bounded operators, and other stuff like the Hilbert-Smith operators, because the in a Hilbert space. The good news is they even the authors, they provide an appendix with an overview, some mathematical preliminaries about Hilbert spaces, but it might be too compact for some of you. For those in QF Academy, you have this thing here available for you, our program on measure theory and functional analysis. This has the Hilbert space theory that you need if you want to refresh before you consider reading this paper. So that's the first remark. The good thing is this thing uses separable Hilbert spaces, even though the authors, they don't mention that, but it's implicit. Just checking the mathematics, how they think it's basically not a surprise, because for most applications, separable Hilbert spaces are much more easier to deal with. They have nice properties and so on. This is why physicists in quantum mechanics and other topics, they like dealing with separable Hilbert spaces, and this is the case here as well. So what does this paper is about? So the key thing about this paper is, disclaimer before I go, I only had in total of 2 hours digesting this. So I selected the paper last night and before I went to bed, I scanned through it, and also this morning when I woke up, I did it over a coffee. So naturally, there might be some things that I might be off. If you are one of the authors, I think one of the authors might be on the audience, so apologies in advance if I misunderstood anything. Hopefully it's not on the mathematical side, that I understand. But on the application side, I might have misunderstood something. But yeah, just a heads up on that, just a note on that, I haven't gone, I haven't spent that much time on the thing, on the paper really. But hopefully what I will share with you might be enough to give you an idea, and then you can go and read the paper. I've also reached out to the author, to one of the authors, Hussein, and hopefully, who knows, maybe in the future we can invite him to come and give a webinar and give us some insights about the paper that I might have missed. Okay, so the paper basically asks whether compression can tell us something interesting about what a trained network has learned. As those of you coming from neural network background probably know, most proning methods rank neurons using basically using the weight sizes. And as the authors, they put it on the paper, this is very unreliable, or rather unreliable, because stuff like a batch normalization and rescaling can indeed change the weights without changing the function computed by the network. So this beautiful framework, HOPE, what it does is it measures the function contributed by each neuron, and then it represents that contribution as a rank 1 Hilbert-Smith operator. Pruning, merging, and removing a residual part can then be compared using the same measure. So for networks with the batch normalization, from what I understand, the method builds a Gaussian surrogate from the stored means and variance. This then makes it possible to estimate the required inner product without using the actual training data. We'll come back to this in a minute. How did they get away with this? Okay, so that's basically the essence of this paper. On the experimental side, obviously it's something new, so it's a little bit of a I won't say toy experiment, but it's just one compression experiment and transfer learning experiment that they have done. And so the takeaway, I guess, is to say that it's basically, at this point, from what I understand, it's a mathematical framework supported by the empirical evidence that they provided in the thing, in this in the thing on the paper. So that's the key really of this of this paper. Now, the paper has a total of 70 pages, and I know that some of you might be tempted. I do that as well. Whenever a paper is massive, I tend to just skim through things. So what I did was, hopefully it will be useful to you, is just to highlight some of the pages that I think you should pay attention to in order to get the essence of the paper. So the first one is, let me pull it. So I took screenshots. Okay, so page 8. So this is definitely, this is something that you might want to check or pay attention to. This is basically the main mathematical construction in the paper, where they talk, they introduce the scalar function GI, which gives the activation function of a neuron I. So the outgoing vector, as written on the paper, W out I, sends that scalar into the next layer. Together, they define the neuron's vector valued contribution Fi. Okay, so that's one of the things that you need to check. For every input, then the output lies in the one-dimensional span of the outgoing vector, if I'm not mistaken. This is why the neuron can be represented as basically as a rank 1 Hilbert-Smith operator. So you don't want to miss this this page. The other page, the next one is, sorry, this is page 6 actually, not page 8. Page 8 is this one. Okay, this is another thing that you don't want to miss. This is, I've mixed up the thing because of the screenshot. So yeah, I was showing what I just said was actually to do with the page. Let me start from scratch actually. It's much better. Sorry for this. It's just the screenshots are not organized properly as I expected. Let's see. Okay, so this is page 6. Okay, so in page 6, forget what I said before, that's for page 8, basically. So page 6 tells you that Hope needs a distribution over the inputs to define its inner product, but it doesn't use the original training data. We'll come to that in a minute. What it does, it constructs a Gaussian surrogate from the batch normalization statistics that's stored in the network. So that's basically what this thing does. And now page 8 is another page that you don't want to miss. Sorry for this. I have to upload it. It's taking ages to upload. Yeah, I hope you can see. I can see it from my end. So yeah, so page 8 is definitely something that you want to pay attention to. As I already said, this is the key part of the paper where they do the mathematical construction, where they construct the scalar function GI gives the activation of neuron I, and so the outgoing vector W out I indexed by I sends that scalar to the next layer. Together, they define the neuron's vector valued contribution, which they label Fi. So you might want to check this special attention to this part here, because it's very important on in the construction. The next thing that I found interesting that I think you should also look at is page 13. It's uploading. I hope you can see it. Yeah, can you see it? Can someone on the private chat just let me know? I can see it, but just make sure that you can see it. Yes, you can see it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so in this here, basically, you can then see that pruning and merging are written as projections in the same Hilbert space. So pruning sends the operators, the operator associated with a neuron to zero. It cost compares the functional capacity removed with the capacity left in the layer. And the denominator prevents the method from repeatedly removing neurons until the whole layer basically disappears, okay? And as the capacity, as the remaining capacity approaches zero, the priming cost basically increases, it becomes large. So this is another thing that I think you should keep an eye on, or at least pay a special attention to. The next page that I think that you should look at, I hope it shows here, it's loading from my end. It's basically talks about residual block eviction. So the paper extends the same idea from individual neurons to a complete residual path, basically. Neuron level pruning can make a residual branch very narrow without removing it completely. So that the final convolution still has to match, if I recall well, the width of the skipped connection. And therefore, the branch might continue to contain basically parameters and batch normalization terms, even when most of it, its internal structure has gone. So this is a very interesting part of the paper as well that I think you should pay attention to. And now the next one that you should look at is page 19. It's loading. Let me know on the chat if you can see this. I believe this is the part where they talk about the encoding loop. So this basically gives the compression procedure. So at each step, Hope considers basically three, from what I understand, the framework the framework Hope considers three operations: pruning on one neuron, merging two neurons, or removing a residual block. This is what I understood from the paper. So this part is very interesting. And this one is also, of course, important, this part here, that you should also pay a special attention to. It's loading. The compression results. From what I understand on the paper is that Hope is applied to a pre-trained ResNet 15 on ImageNet. That's what I get. I hope I didn't get the thing wrong. It basically doesn't try to reconstruct the full distribution, image distribution. It only needs enough information to estimate the expected products of neuron activation using its Hilbert space inner product. And this basically makes it very useful when the original data is not available. This could be the case for privacy reasons, for instance, or other type of restrictions that, typically you encounter in real world, right? So this is very, very, very interesting. I guess the trade-off is the result depends partly on how well the Gaussian surrogate reflects neural signals. So that's the thing. I won't say the downside is one of the limitations, I guess. But I suppose I need to look at the so it's this page is really important. The other thing it does is it compares with the structured problem baseline based on incoming L1 norm combined incoming and outgoing L1 norm and batch normalization scale as well. So the horizontal axis is basically is model density, meaning that the proportion of active neurons left in the network, from what I understand. The other thing, of course, you need to look at is this. I hope it's loading. Can you see this? Please confirm in the chat if you can see this. Yes, you can see this. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the thing, the experimental results of what they have done on the thing on the paper. So yeah, so I think it's a very interesting paper. As I said, I need to take a look at it in more details. I only spent a good around 1 hour last night and also this morning over the coffee. So I still have to digest it, but hopefully I've given you enough to find it interesting to read. And hopefully we can have, let's see, I have something on the chat. Where's the chat? I see a notification, but I don't see the message. I hope if this is Hussein, he might actually, let's see. I have to go to LinkedIn to see the message. Sorry for this. This is a new platform, streaming platform. So I'm also new to this. There's a bit of hiccups. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So it's just Hussein saying all good. I'm watching. So sorry for this. Yeah. So Hussein, I hope I made justice to your to just giving a bit of summary. As I said, I found it very interesting because not least it's aligned with our mathematical interest. And I'm sure that the community members who are right now in the audience mode are also enjoying. In fact, we'll have some questions in a minute. But yeah, so go and I definitely recommend you to go and take a look at this paper. Let me know what you think, and let me know, most importantly, if I misunderstood anything from what I was saying on the thing about this paper. But it's definitely very, very interesting mathematical framework. And yeah, I'll now take questions. Feel free on the private mode. Please feel free to type your questions. On the public, whether you are on LinkedIn, you can also take questions. Or if it's you, Hussein, the author, one of the authors, I know I just saw on LinkedIn that he's watching. Maybe you can help answer some of the questions. If I will try to answer them based on my understanding of the construction. So let's see. Okay, so the first question is you won't be able to see this if you are on LinkedIn because this is on private mode. So I'll read it out for you. and I'll wait for maybe some seconds, 1 minute or so, to see if Hussein, the author, can answer this. If not, I will try my best to answer based on my understanding. So the question is, how can hope work without access to the training data? So because I believe I mentioned on the paper, the thing it doesn't actually deals with it doesn't use the training data directly. So I think I know why, but maybe Hussein, I can check on your thing, your answer, and then if not, I can try my best to answer this question. It's actually it would be nice if you Hussein. Okay. Okay, so Hussein is connected to the thing. So okay, so this, hang on a second, Hussein. I'll check because it would be nice to have you on stage to answer. Let's see. Okay, what I will do, I will send you, I will give you another link on LinkedIn so you can use that and join again. Hussein, please. Sorry for this. I think the previous link is for anonymous guest or something, but try to use this. Maybe log out and try to come in, and I will add you on stage. And yeah, sorry for this. So if you are joining now, we are waiting for Hussein. Yeah, I can see a request here. Let in. Yeah. Hi, Hussein. Thank you for joining, and thank you for saving me so I don't have to answer. I think you are muted, or maybe the camera or something. By the way, just if you are joining with Safari, this thing seems to be not this system, this platform doesn't seem to work well with the Safari. So you might want to use your Google-made browser, Google Chrome. It seems to work well. Because I can see you on stage, but I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you or see you, Hussein. Sorry for this. I think it's probably to do with the browser or something. If you try to use Google Chrome, it might work instead of Safari. So the question is, how can Hope work without access to the training data? I think I might have an idea to how, but it would be nice to have the author himself join. Let me go on the other platform. We'll see if Hussein will join. Yeah, let's see. I got a notification. Hi, Hussein. Oh, for some reason I cannot hear you. Oh my God. I still cannot hear you. I see you on stage, but we cannot hear you or see you as well. Okay. Let me go to LinkedIn to see. We're doing multitasking to try to communicate this platform. The platform is letting us down. What a shame, because we have the author. He can answer the questions for us. If not, maybe I can try to answer. And then if Hussein is able to join, maybe he can confirm as well whether I got it right. And it's to do something with something that I already mentioned. I think Hope basically uses the means and variances stored by the normalization, and then uses that to build a Gaussian approximation of the signals entering each layer. So it doesn't try to construct the full image distribution, because it only needs enough information to estimate the expected products of neuron activation used in its Hilbert space inner products. Okay, so yeah, sorry for this. Let me reply to Hussein here. Sorry for this. This platform is the platform has let us down. You might have to move to another platform. But if you can also type, that would be nice. Does it has to do? Am I correct to say this? The reason why Hope can work without access to the training data is because it uses the means and variance stored by the batch normalization to build a Gaussian approximation of the signals entering each layer, basically, in a nutshell. Or if you can even elaborate, I can. Yeah, at least you can, if you can type a message, Hussein. So the question is, how can Hope work without access to the training data? My my hunch is that it basically uses the means and variances stored by the batch normalization in order to build some sort of a Gaussian approximation of the signals entering each layer of the network. Let me check on LinkedIn. Okay, so let's see the other. I will come back to this if we can get hold of Hussein. The other interesting question is, does Hope show that does hope show whether some neurons are more important than others? This is also a very interesting question. Hussein, does the framework show whether some neurons are more important than others? Again, I might be able to give some idea what I think, but it would be nice to have the author. The platform is letting us down. What I can do is actually, Hussein, if you don't mind, I will compile the questions and then send them to you, and then you can elaborate and send it to us. Okay, so Hussein is coming. Let in. Let's see. Hello, Hussein. Hello. What is going on today on Sunday? I have no idea why he's not able to join. I can see you on stage, but I don't seem to be able to see you or hear you. Yeah, hello, I can see you now. So now now is the voice. At least it's good thing we can see you. Yeah. So now it must be the mic problem. Yeah. Okay, this is a good start. This is a good start. No, I cannot hear you. Oh my God. Yeah. But this is a good start. We can see you. So it's a good, yeah. I'm happy to stay until we figure it out, because it's very important to have you with us to answer the questions, then relying on my perhaps incomplete understanding of the paper to try to answer. Oh my God. Yeah, no. No, I cannot. We cannot hear. At least I cannot hear. Can you hear me, by the way? Yes, you can hear me. It's just I cannot hear you, but we can see you. You are on stage. It's just the thing. I guess one problem solved is it might be maybe you can leave and try to come back again to see if it troubleshoots, and maybe give permission to the mic or something. And as I said, ideally maybe use Google Chrome or something. Well, it's from Google, so. Oh, it would be so great to have Hussein here. Because these are very interesting questions. I'll read the questions back again. So just bear with me. We are trying to get Hussein in. By the way, in the recording, we will edit this to make it faster. So, for you to see, hopefully he can join. I'm just holding on to see if we get a Sunday miracle happening for us. We deserve it. It's not always we have the opportunity to have the author joined. Fingers crossed. Let's see. If not, I can try to answer myself, and then maybe in the thing we can in the future, near future, we can invite Hussein to come and give a presentation. But I'm happy to hold on. I don't know about you guys. Okay, so he's coming back. Okay, let's see. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me this time?
Oh, fantastic! Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
still you can hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
All right. So sorry. Okay, so I
The
can catch up with.
sound. The sound. Yeah. Yeah. The sound is better. You don't need to put the camera on if you want. As long as we can hear you, that's the key.
Okay, okay. So I'm
Yeah.
here, but yeah, I missed whatever was in between. Like if there is any question that you want me to answer, I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll actually go over the questions again just to
I got the first
to.
question. If that's still something to be answered, the one why we can, like how we can do this without data. So is that still a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah. How can Hope work without access to the training data?
Okay, okay. So we use models that have batch normalization in them, and so as you first said, it works with the trained model. So we have like a model that's already trained, and we load the checkpoint. Now if that model has something called batch normalization, then the checkpoint that you load with it, to each neuron, it also associates some statistics, the mean and variance of batch normalization, and that statistics is coming from training data. Like we don't need to see the data, but we have this statistics for free, and we can leverage it to fit our surrogate distribution. So the surrogate distribution tries to play the role of the actual data, but we don't have the actual data, so this is the best we can do. We say, okay, we want to fit a Gaussian subject to maximum entropy. So maximum entropy is like a criteria that you use to be the least committed, um, and then subject to some constraints, and then these constraints are coming from batch normalization statistics. So it captures something, not quite the, of course, not quite the real data, but still it helps the surrogate to behave in a way that's like somewhat similar. And another thing is that you may wonder how we can use a Gaussian distribution as a surrogate data, because the input distribution to neurons is far from Gaussian. For example, in the input layer, if it's an image classification task, the images themselves are coming from a very complex distribution. It's believed that the natural images lie on like super complex manifold in image space, but the catch is from the eye of the neuron, which only sees the projection of this input distribution, like let's say high dimensional input distribution, projected onto the weight vector associated with that neuron. So there's a dot product, right? So this single neuron has a incoming weight vector W. You compute the dot product of that with its input, and that's what it sees. It's pre-activation. So it's a projection. And when the dimension is high, the input dimension is high, like you can use central limit theorem arguments to say the distribution of this projection is like a Gaussian. So to the eye of the neuron, it is a Gaussian. Okay, so it doesn't. So so you can use a surrogate that's anything as long as the projected Gaussian matches the same like signatures, then you're good. And in particular, we can use the initial distribution to also be a Gaussian, again, because the projection of Gaussian is also Gaussian. And we build the original Gaussian in a way that its signature matches. So that's how we can do this without data. And this was the only question that
Yeah.
I got. So I don't know what are the other question.
Yeah, no, no. There's another one that I would like you to have a take on that. But on this one, this is very interesting for me because I'm interested in privacy. So it's some sort of a privacy stuff also built here because you don't see the original data, but you can extract something about it. So I think that this is very interesting here in terms of the framework. So the other question is. Um, does hope show whether some neurons are more important than others?
Yeah, actually, you showed the last experiment, but didn't, I think, go through it. So I can provide some description about it. So yes,
Okay,
you can
let's
use
see.
the notion of capacity. Okay, so
Is
if
it this one?
did you cover, yeah, the next page. There was a table, right? Yeah, this one, yeah.
This one,
Did you
okay.
cover like what's the norm of a neuron when you were presenting, or no?
No, I didn't go specific into specific into that. Yeah, but maybe you can give
Okay, so
a
let me
brief. Yeah.
briefly explain that. Okay, so what hope does um, is that it says, okay, instead of like seeing a neuron as a set of parameters, which, for example, its input parameters, its normalization, like background parameters, even its outgoing weight vector. These are all parameters that are immediately attached to that neuron, right? And they are like the numbers that eventually realize this neuron and produce its underlying function. So by underlying function, I mean the mapping from the input to the output, right? So that's the underlying function. And there could be many different parameterizations that arrive at the same function. For example, I can, if it's a ReLU neuron, then I can multiply and divide successive layers by a factor and get the same behavior, like the same function. So parameterization has a lot of symmetries, but they could, at the end of the day, produce the same function. So in order to be immune to these symmetries, Hope says, okay, forget about parameter space and let's look at the ultimate function that it produces. What's the mapping from input to output? And in order to characterize a function, you need to know what is the output given the input, right? I mean, the function is nothing but the relation between input and output, right? And here, because we have a distribution over the input, we know basically the input space, and uh, we also have the mathematical model of how this distribution is mapped to the output. I mean, that's the formula of a neuron, right? So we can we can see that this neuron as the entire function. So it's a function, and this function happens to be happen to form a Hilbert space, which means you can define some inner product. I don't know, the audience is more but like mathematical or machine learning, but if they're mathematical, they know even more properties. But the minimal thing I want from there is that once you show that it's a Hilbert space, you can show that these functions have well-defined inner product in that space.
Yeah.
And once you have that established, then you can think about the space. You can discuss about the geometry of the space, right? So you have the distances, angles, and all that. And in particular, you can define distances. or the norm, Hilbert norm in this space. So once you have the dot product, you can easily define the norm, right? It's a vector or the object dot product with itself, inner product with itself, right? So this way you can define a norm for each neuron. And again, the highlight is that this norm is now capturing what's the function is like representing, not the parameterization. So it doesn't care about parameterization. But this way, you capture really what is the complexity or capacity of that function, this Hilbert norm. And then yes, and then now we get to that question that yes, you can use this norm in order to say, okay, what neurons are like more critical than others. Those with larger norm are typically more critical, and we can even use that in this application, second application, which you have on the slide, which is transfer learning. It So the goal of transfer learning is that you already have like a model trained on some source task, and now you want to adapt it to work well on the second task, but you have maybe limited data on the second task. So instead of training it on the second task from scratch, you would like to somehow leverage the knowledge you have from the source task while adapting it to the second task. And now, given this functional norm, which I just said, you can use its value as how important a neuron is. You can decide which neurons to freeze and which ones to adapt. Once you have your trained model on the source task, you go and compute this capacity measure of the neurons, and then you also need a threshold value. You say everything beyond this capacity, I consider it as like very important knowledge that I want to preserve. Anything below this threshold, I can adapt it. It doesn't do much basically. So you can use this norm in order to basically split or partition the neurons into these two sets, and then freeze and adapt based on the value of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's clear now. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for this. We have another question, the final one from the audience. I have my own questions, maybe two, if you have time.
I do have time. Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing from the private chat from the community member is, what is the benefit of merging neurons instead of only proming them?
Okay, so merging is useful because if you have neurons that, that, okay, so if you have neurons in your original network that their role is somewhat similar, right? So the neurons don't have to be orthogonal. So oftentimes, actually, um, you have neurons that have, capture something similar. So there's some overlap, right?
Yeah. So similar
Um,
contribution.
yeah. So the difference might be much smaller than their overlap. For example, both of them might be detecting edges. Maybe one of them is slightly sensitive to round edges. The other one maybe to, I don't know, sharp edges. But at the end, both of them are like edge detectors, something like that. Just making up an example for illustration. So because these neurons have these overlaps, it means that if you merge them with a representative, for example, in this example, edge detector, then you lose you lose, of course, some precision, but not as much, right? Because you still capture the essence. While pruning only kills neurons, right? So it says let's get rid of it. And sometimes you have these neurons that are important for your task. Again, this example, you have edge detectors, they are critical. So it's not about getting rid of them, but we can compress them by, instead of like removing them, we can compress them by merging. Because first, we don't want to lose them, they are important for the task. And second, they have this overlap, so let's leverage it. So that's why we need merge.
Interesting. So it's some sort of a let's say a constrained approximation in the thing.
Yes.
problem in your Hilbert space setup, I suppose. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay.
we have the norms and everything set up, so we can measure the distances, the errors, and try to minimize that error to define the optimal merge.
Well, that's clear to me. Okay, so there's a follow up from the same question. This is it from the audience before I ask my own two questions. Is more of a curiosity. What led you, you and your team, um, to represent each neuron as a rank one operator?
Ah, interesting. So it was a journey. It wasn't like something that we thought, oh, we should do it. So we went
Immediately.
through. Yeah. There was like there was a broader task or goal that we wanted to understand what these uh, neurons do, and whether, more importantly, whether we can um, rank neurons. Like, okay, what neurons are important, which ones are not. So it started from that, the goal. And then we tried different ideas. And in deep learning, you cannot always work in on the math in abstract, because nothing is really mathematically tractable. So you need to build these ideal models, and once you do that, you might lose real qualities. So you need to go back and forth to make sure that your idealized model is still somewhat consistent with the real model. So yeah, it was like this going back and forth until we eventually converged to this version of Hope. But there were a lot of intermediate versions. Uh, but yeah, they all started with this goal of trying to characterize the importance of a neuron.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. This is what we always discuss in the community, is that sometimes this is the beauty of things. You explore, you start in one way, and then it takes you to an interesting direction that maybe you didn't think of before, certainly from a mathematical point of view. Um, okay, so I think that's the questions from the our audience mode on the private mode. My question is more on curiosity, like what next for this thing, for this framework. In particular, I'm a bit, as I said at the beginning, I still have to go and read it, the paper more in depth, as opposed to just spending 1 hour and a half or something since
Mhm.
yesterday evening and this morning. Is have you guys thought about incorporating group theoretic stuff as well, like some sort of a symmetry aware functional capacity?
No, nothing about group theory. To be honest, I also wanted to um, the functional analysis was more on my toolkit than group
Yeah.
theory. So they might be like some nice formulation you can do there, but I haven't thought about it. But you also, I think, asked what's next. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think now that we have built the foundation and we show some proof of concept application that seems to be working, we would like to now really go and explore applications further. So maybe put the math on a pause, and then try to go in the wild and see, okay, to what extent we can scale this, and maybe find new applications. um, one of the areas that I think this might have utility is federated learning. Another one is
Ah, interesting.
dynamic networks, which means they grow and shrink throughout training. So right now the compression just shrinks, but I think you can also use similar logic, extend it in order to expand. So these are all new applications that may be um, you know natural to this setup, to this framework. So I would like to go and explore those a little bit.
Yeah, the federated learning, I can immediately see that when we are talking about where did the training data, how can you do the training without, do the stuff. I was like, it seems to have some sort of a natural privacy stuff in built there. So, yeah. Um, do you have any plans to release any open source toolkit around this that people can maybe play with or something, or it's not? It's
Yeah,
something
I
on
would
the
love to do
part of.
that. I would love to do that, but Google, there's a process, so I cannot just do it overnight. So we need to go through the process, get some approvals, and then hopefully. But at least the process is there, so we know that we can do it. We just need to follow the rules, and it may take some time. But yeah, that's something that I would love to have it open source.
Okay. Yeah. So listen, I will definitely. I know you said from your end, the side, you will wrap up the maths and start uh, worrying more about the application. But I still think there's some mathematics, especially this thing about symmetry aware functional capacity. So maybe one of our community members or someone can look at the paper and see whether there's some interesting stuff there. Um, and yeah, if that's the case, I will definitely reach out to you, see what you think. um,
Yeah. So yeah, just a quick comment on that. Yeah, there could be alternative formulations like through different lenses in mathematics. Also, there could be some extensions. I'm not a mathematician, so my knowledge and toolkit is limited. But there could be cleaner formulations or some natural extensions of this framework that I didn't think about. So yeah, definitely. When I said I would like to explore more on the applied side, because I'm somewhere in between. I'm not like actually I'm not a mathematician,
yeah.
right? So I'm a computer scientist, but somewhere in between. So I need to do the theory and also explore the practical side. But that doesn't mean that for people interested in theory they should also do the same thing. It's just I want to keep the balance, but there is definitely opportunities in the theory side.
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we don't have any more question, and I'm sure it's a very early morning there. You've got a lot to do on Sunday morning. So, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to following the progress of this framework. And who knows, maybe someone from our community might look at it and try to do something, or maybe in the future as well, as you do, we can invite you and give a presentation or something.
I'll be flattered, and thank you so much for inviting and also for covering this work, and the audience for attending and asking interesting questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, have a good day. I hope you enjoyed this, and I definitely recommend you to go and read it. And we catch up again next Sunday. Yeah, so have a good day wherever you are.